Hello, fellow yappers. I'm Ruchi.
And I'm Shalini. And we're your hosts of Binge, Yap, Repeat.
We're two best friends who spend an embarrassing amount of time binge watching TV, and honestly, we just need to talk about it. If you're here, we're guessing you do too.
This is a spoiler-friendly zone. So if you haven't watched the show yet, hit pause, go binge, and come back when you're ready to yap with us.
And now, it's yap time. Hello, yappers! Today we're diving into the wild story of Belle Gibson, the Australian Instagram wellness influencer who claimed that she cured her terminal cancer with clean eating, only for it all to unravel as one big con. We'll be yapping about the Netflix limited series Apple Cider Vinegar, but also the Netflix documentary The Search for Instagram's Worst Con Artist and the infamous 60 Minutes interview with Belle Gibson. So yeah, we're gonna start talking about apple cider vinegar. I did also look up the Rotten Tomatoes for apple cider vinegar. It is 82% tomato meter and then 74% popcorn meter.
Wow.
Yeah.
People loved it.
Way more than with Love Megan, I would say.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, huge. So yeah, I guess
first high quality television show on this podcast, perhaps.
Yes. And it's about, just a great person,
The best person.
Yeah. So I guess we can go ahead and get started and get right into it. Shalini, what are your thoughts?
Show-wise, I ate this show up. I think so. It's 6 episodes long. Each episode is about an hour long, and I think I watched it in 3 days or something, which actually is slow for us. But yeah, I was so hooked on the show. It was so fascinating to me how she just manipulated the people in her life and built this huge cult following, how so many people followed her and didn't even suspect her of anything, didn't bother doing their homework about her before taking her health advice. And I also thought it was really interesting how they weaved in Milla Blake's story, which we can get into in detail, but Milla Blake is not a real person. She was loosely based on a real person, but yeah, so I thought that was an interesting addition to the show because it's not completely related and not 100% intertwined, but obviously there are parallels in their stories. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting, and I love the woman who plays Belle Gibson. Her name's Caitlin Dever. I saw her in this show called Unbelievable, which is another limited series on Netflix about a young woman who was raped, but nobody believes her. And she kind of played a similar character in that, little shifty, something about her you don't, totally believe, but you can't pinpoint what it is. And she did a fabulous job in that show also. So basically, I loved everything about this show. It was so interesting to me. I'm also, I love learning about health things, and, I follow a lot of, health, vegan influencers and stuff like that. So it was very much up my alley and, personal interests also.
Oh my gosh, love that. You mentioned so many things just now that I was like, ooh, I want to talk about that. Ooh, I want to talk about that. So actually, just fun fact, I think the main character, Caitlin, she is actually American. And I thought she had the best Australian accent ever. Yeah, because basically I think everyone else on that show is actually Australian, but she is American. Can you believe that?
That's so impressive.
Wait, so on Unbelievable, she was American?
Yeah, she was American. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so when I saw her in this, I just assumed she was Australian, and she just had a really convincing American accent.
Wow. No, it's the other way around.
That's so impressive.
Yeah, I was also shocked. And then I was looking up these different interviews with the cast. I think they have one Vogue interview that they did, and all of the comments are like, this is the best Aussie accent I've ever heard in my life from a
Dang.
non-Aussie. And I was like, oh shit. Like, yeah, I totally believe that.
Wow, kudos to her. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So I guess the other thing that I wanted to talk about was this Milla Blake character, because
Mm.
my entrance to Apple Cider Vinegar, I don't know why Netflix did, well, I guess it makes sense why Netflix did this, but they put like the Apple Cider Vinegar trailer, and then right next to it, at least for my Netflix, they put the search for Instagram's worst con artist or whatever.
Oh.
So I was like, oh, it's like a show that's kind of fictionalized, or the actual documentary. I'm gonna watch the actual documentary first, so I know the real story. So I actually watched the documentary first. I think it's like 3 episodes. It only talked about Belle Gibson. It didn't mention
Okay.
this other person. There was no mention of like Milla Blake or any of the
Mhm.
other like characters. Obviously, they're in this story. So I had finished watching that documentary, and then I started watching Apple Cider Vinegar, and then I was like, oh, but like Milla Blake is like this like fictionalized character and it's not true to the story. And so and then I stopped watching Apple Cider Vinegar. Because
Oh.
that I felt like colored my experience a little bit. But then you were like, oh, I flew through Apple Cider Vinegar, like you
Mhm.
need to watch it. And I was like, okay, I will watch it. So I binged it all last night. I started from episode 1 and I watched the entire 6 episodes as
Very
one
impressive.
does.
Very impressive. And also, listeners, for context, Ruchi and I just bought this mini projector that projects onto your ceiling. And it's a smart projector and it has the Netflix app in it and has a speaker. So we can literally, well, each of us separately, because we live in different states currently, lie in bed and watch facing our ceiling, which is great. So, anyway, those just arrived and we've been taking full advantage of it.
I spent so many hours in bed yesterday. So many hours. I was like, am I getting a bed sore? Do I need to be turned right now? Yeah, it was glorious, but also felt a little bit like I wasn't doing the healthiest thing. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
um, so I would love to know. I know you did research on the actual Milla Blake. What is the story?
So, Milla Blake is based on this real woman named Jessica Ainscough. Some of the similarities between the two of them, both of them were editors at teen magazines when they got their diagnosis. They were both diagnosed with epithelioid sarcoma at the age of 22, like we see in the show. And they both died. I guess I don't know. I
Mhm.
don't know if they say what age Milla dies in the show, but Jessica died at age 30, and she also like kind of said no to traditional treatment. It sounds like she underwent a round of chemotherapy in the beginning that seemed to put her into remission 4 months later after her original diagnosis, or a few months later. But then in November 2009, so a full year and a half after the original diagnosis, the cancer resurfaced. That's when she said no to the amputation. She wanted to pursue like natural treatments, and so she did this whole like fruits and vegetables thing, very similar to Milla in the show. And then she finally died 8 years after her original diagnosis. Even though they say, well, actually, this surprised me because in what I was reading, they said that the amputation could have extended her life by a decade, but then she died 8 years later. So it's not. I think it might have been like dramatized in the show, but it sounds like the amputation wouldn't have extended her life that much more than what her natural treatment did, which I thought was very interesting. But
That is
yeah.
super interesting. Yeah, that's definitely like not what the show did. Obviously, it was. I think the way that they portrayed Milla was quite negatively. Like maybe it was playing into this idea that there are like these two major themes that everyone preys on the sick and vulnerable, and there's like non-critical media, and like don't always like, if something is too good to be true, it probably is. And so yeah, I do think compared to the story that you just mentioned, like that did feel like a really negative portrayal of Mila.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like, I really couldn't figure out what they were trying to do with Mila's character. Like, was it supposed to be a, you know, like learn from her mistakes kind of thing, or was it like a look at this ridiculous person kind of thing, or like a sob
Yeah.
story tragic kind of thing? I mean, I guess it was kind of all of those things, but yeah, I was like, are we supposed to feel bad for her, or are we supposed to judge her for her choices? I don't know, but it was really sad. I was so sad for her. I was especially sad for her dad
Yeah.
when her mom, his wife, also underwent the quote unquote natural therapy that Mila had, I don't know, preached to the world, and then so he lost his wife and his daughter seemingly like within a few months of each other. That was
Yeah.
so sad.
Wait, so was that part also fictionalized? Like, did the real Jessica also lose her mom?
The real Jessica also lost her mom to breast cancer. I can't remember what
Oh.
kind of cancer Mila's mom had in the
I
show.
think she had
Did they
bowel
say?
cancer.
Oh yeah, that's right. But yeah, in real life it was breast cancer, and I can't remember if her mom tried chemo or like tried conventional medicine um or kind of went
Like
down
in real
Jessica's
life.
path. Yeah, in real life. Um,
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I remember in the show, actually in the show, maybe this is because I was binging, but it also was a little bit unclear. It did seem like Mila's mom did try chemo, or at least like went
mm,
to a couple of sessions because Mila was on like that road trip. Um, but then when Mila came back, it seemed like she couldn't go to chemo anymore, and so they just kept doing the juices and the enemas and stuff. Um,
yeah, I guess my interpretation was that she hadn't done any conventional treatments in the show, but I just looked it up, and Jessica's mother, Sharon Ainscough, also refused all conventional treatment and joined her daughter in the quote unquote Gerson therapy, which I think was
the Hirsch
the
therapy.
equivalent of the Hirsch Institute. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I wonder like what the timeline was for her diagnosis. Like, did the alternative stuff work for her as well, or at least like work to extend the lifespan or like the estimated, time that they had? I wonder.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
In the show, I think Mila's mom, I feel like they didn't do the natural stuff. I feel like her dad tried to like take her to the hospital, because I remember there being one conversation where he was like, "Do you think that, we could turn left instead of right and then like take you to the hospital, and like do you think that she would know?" And then also, when Mila got home from her road trip, she looked into the bathroom and she didn't see any like enema set up or something, or like it didn't look like it had been used.
Oh yeah, and then she was like, "Mom, why are you taking pills?" Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't think she did the natural stuff. But I also felt really bad for Mila. I mean, I felt bad. I don't know. I had mixed feelings because at
Oh,
the end she kind of felt like a child, you know? I felt like she was like a petulant child, and that she was like, I just want to do like my own like natural medicine, and like I want this black salve to be on my arm. Everything's going south, and I know everything's going south, and then my mom just died and everything's going south for me too, and like now that my mom has died, I'm going to come clean that this natural stuff hadn't been working for me. I was
it
I
was so hard to watch.
Yeah, I just felt a lot of rage in that moment. Like, I think if I were that dad, I would have gone off. I felt so the fact that they showed the dad like being really kind, like never really losing his cool, except for like
Mm,
that one moment
mm.
when they were like, do the natural thing. Um, I was like, okay, so he is a stronger man than I.
I know, it was so sad. He like yeah, I mean if I was him, I don't know what more I could do either. He really tried. He tried to force her to do the treatments. He
Yeah.
tried dragging her in, he tried convincing her, and there was just there was nothing he could do, and he knew he was right, and there was nothing he could do, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
so sad.
I kind of wish that they had shown Mila going through chemo though, because I think that would have
Yeah.
made her be more authentic. Because in the show, she was kind of portrayed as this like coddled girl who like saw her nana go through treatment and then was like, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to shave my head or whatever. And so then she was like, I need another way. And I felt like that was like, given
Well,
your given your story, it felt like it was unfair.
she did some treatment, right? Because they were like, okay, we decided she didn't want to get her arm amputated, so then she was like, I want other options, and then the option they came up with was this like targeted, it was like some sort of targeted radiation treatment or something that was like specifically targeting the lumps, but it wasn't amputation. So
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe that was like the quote unquote equivalent to the chemo that Jessica Ainscough actually went through. I don't know. Yeah, because she would go through some treatment, but it just wasn't amputation.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. The other thing that I really raged at in this show was how Belle went to Mila's funeral
Oh my
and like
god.
went into her room, and then as the boyfriend was like crying and stuff, she's like, have you thought about Mila's followers? I
That
was
was
like,
so enraging. So
yeah.
enraging.
I was waiting for them to throw her out, even when she like stepped foot in the funeral. I was like,
Yeah,
throw her out now.
I
I was like
know.
shocked that I think her name was Chanel, the friend.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was shocked that Chanel like saw her and like didn't do anything
I
until the night.
know. Seriously, that was crazy. And
Yeah.
like, yeah, like no one called her out, even when she threw a freaking fit during the actual funeral and like was
Yeah.
sobbing so loudly and dramatically. No one was like, "You need to leave." Slash, you
Yeah.
don't even know Mila.
Yeah.
um,
Also, I really liked how they did that and all of the timing of it because it was like she was crying about
mm,
like her own stuff coming to light rather than like Mila herself. I thought that was good. I don't know if that's how
yeah,
the timeline actually worked out with her friend or not
yeah.
with
Okay,
Jessica.
well, so I also looked this up if Belle Gibson and Jessica even knew each other. Turns out they like didn't. Their stories are not related or intertwined at all in real life. The only thing is they met once at a conference, like sometime while Jessica had cancer, but that's it.
Wait, I saw that on Wiki that she did attend her
Oh, she
funeral.
did?
I was like, oh shit, like not only does this person exist, yeah, Belle like also attended her thing because she was trying to like figure out more about the Gerson therapy or something. Like that's how they knew each other. We're like frantically Wikipediaing
Oh,
right now.
yeah.
Let me
Oh my
see.
god, yeah, no, you're right. She did attend the funeral. Wait, what did I see?
Yeah, the controversial Gerson therapy is similarly promoted by another Australian wellness blogger, Jessica Ainscough, whose funeral Gibson attended when Ainscough died from cancer in late February 2015. So, what was happening in 2015? Ah, okay, yes. So, Gibson admitted in the April 2015 interview that she had fabricated her claims. So, the timeline actually does match up. She could have, like,
Fascinating.
that scene could have been true that she was crying about all of her shit hitting the fan. Wow.
Wow. Okay, okay. That's crazy.
Wow.
Oh my
That's a
gosh.
good creative take.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, wow. So there are like way more similarities between Jessica and Mila than even I originally thought. That's crazy.
Some creative takes that I did not like though.
Hmm.
Um I didn't I found like the overall style, the anachronistic style of the show in the beginning to be really jarring and I didn't know like what was going on when, especially
Yeah,
because there were a lot of like random interactions between like Belle and Mila, and then there's also a lot of like overlaps between the two timelines. So I think like all of that was really hard to keep track of in the beginning. And then I think like, yeah, by like episode 3 onwards, everything felt like it was happening all on like one track because finally the timelines had like intertwined. So, because like Milla's timeline started earlier than Belle's, basically, right?
Yeah, it must have. Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Yeah. So it was kind of weird to like go back and forth and be like, okay, look, right, okay, Belle's the famous one in this one, and now Milla is like doing speaking things in this one. So yeah, I thought that was a little confusing. Um, yeah, yeah. What did you think about it?
I agree. I was thinking like so there were three different timelines I think and that they present in the beginning. One is she's Belle is talking to her, I don't know, publicist, like PR person, heck.
Yeah, heck.
Um heck. One is her book launch, and
Yeah.
then one is way back in 2010 when she's like pregnant and has no friends.
Yes.
And I was thinking like they should have presented one of them as like present day and then just done a flashback. Maybe had two timelines of like before she's famous and then after she's famous when things start hitting the fan, like when shit starts hitting the
Mhm.
fan. But just like go through those two because three was too many. And the
Yeah.
timelines two and three were so close together too. It was like 2013 versus 2014 or something.
Yeah. Like all of the major stuff happened in the span of like 5 years or something. And so like being really clear about like Melbourne 2012 versus like Perth 2013. I was
Yeah.
like,
I know. It was too much to keep track of.
yeah. The other creative thing that I didn't really like was at the beginning of each episode, they were like, Belle Gibson has not been paid for this like recreation of her story. And I thought like I liked that. Like I thought that was important to say, but also it did kind of take me out of the story a little bit.
Like breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. I guess I know that this is a story about a real person. I understand that. I watched the documentary beforehand.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of liked it. But it could have just been like text at the beginning of every episode, like Belle has not been paid. Like it could have still had the
Yeah.
same intense effect without having like Caitlin Dever herself turn to it and be like, Belle was not paid. Ugh. You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think the other thing that also threw me off was like when Heck did it at the beginning because like he was also a character that I was like, why is this person here? I was kind of confused about his placement in this story too. I think he
Yeah.
was meant to stand for like a new person getting to know Belle to be like, oh, see, this is how she
Yes.
hooks
Like
her
brings you
claws
into
into
her.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like makes you start working for her. But then also he had substance abuse problems and like
There was a
they
lot
had
going
that
on with that dude.
yeah, they had like a wild party night and I was like, I don't understand like why this is happening. So well, that was kind of weird. I don't know. And then he also like ended this season. He was like, yeah, I had substance abuse problems and like this person used to be a client of mine and like this is what I learned. Do you remember this scene?
Was he in like NA or something
Yeah, I think
talking
so.
about this?
I
Yeah,
think so,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so I thought that was like kind of strange, but I don't know. Maybe
It
he's
was
just like meant
odd.
to represent the viewer being like, "Oh, I used to like believe in this person and now I realize that she's like more fucked up than I am."
Yeah, I guess so. I guess yeah. I was trying to think if they had left all the substance abuse stuff out, would it have still had the same effect? And I guess maybe not. Like they had to keep that in just because it shows that like she was able to drag him in because she saw a weakness in him. And maybe that's how she like preys on all of her quote unquote victims, or something.
Oh, I see.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, I guess like another character that we got like a really good look into was Lucy. Um So actually, speaking of Lucy, when I watched the documentary, the journalist from The Age who did break the story, he did like have a wife that had cancer, and so he did have like personal stake. I don't think his wife like knew about Belle, and I need to fact check this, but like at least they didn't talk about it in the documentary, but they did put like quite a bit of emphasis on that in ACB.
Okay. Okay, interesting. Well, that I like that the journalist that actually exposed her had a personal tie to her. I'm glad that happened because that was so. I was like, retribution, yes, yeah. Although, of course, it strained his marriage.
Oh my gosh, what did you think about that moment in the boardroom where they were like pitching stories for International Women's Day, and then that girl was like, two men are trying to take down this like young woman in business. Maybe you want to wait until after International Women's Day. And then he was like, he just like picked up his stuff and left. And then some other guy was like, you know, his wife has cancer. And then she was like, oh shit.
Yeah. I remember that scene so well. That was such a interesting commentary on like who's allowed to criticize what these days.
Yes.
Yeah, it was so interesting to me. It actually, that reminds me, have you read Yellowface?
No.
Okay, Yellowface by R.F. Huang. It just reminded me of that because a big theme of that book is like who is allowed to write about what, and
Oh,
I mean, as you
wait,
can imagine
yes.
from the name Yellowface.
I did read this book. Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That, right? With the
white woman author like steals her dead Asian American friend's manuscript and publishes it under her own name, and it's like about Chinese history. Okay, anyway, I feel like a big theme of that book was like who is allowed to write about what.
Yeah.
And similar to that scene in Apple Cider Vinegar, it was like such an interesting commentary on like, are two men not allowed to expose this like fraudulent woman, even if it's International Women's Day?
On
crazy.
International Women's Day?
If you're fraudulent, like, we're not gonna wait until March 9th to expose you.
Oh my gosh, so true. This episode is so timely.
Yes.
Isn't it March 6th is International Women's Day? I
March
don't even know when International Women's Day is, because like I feel like so many corporations make such a big deal about it that they're celebrating it for the entire month.
Dude, yeah.
When is it?
It is March 8th for the record.
March 8th. Good to know.
But yes.
Makes sense. Okay, we got started by talking about Lucy, and then we immediately pivoted. Yeah, so I really liked Lucy's moment when at the end, when like this house of cards was crumbling down, she was kind of the one, she was shown as the one who like posted on the Facebook being like, if she's lying about charity fraud, what else is she lying about? And like that was kind of the tipping point where then all of the comments went from charity fraud to like, does she even have cancer?
Yeah.
And like, I thought that was a good creative thing to put in there.
I liked it. Yeah. Because then it's like she and her husband are on the same side again.
Yeah. Even though I think she was still in South America at that point, right? Wow. Good for her for getting internet. Oh, actually, speaking of South America, I thought it was really interesting that they had a scene where after she does like the ayahuasca and she goes through this like soul searching journey, she's like, I finally see, like I understand now. And then almost immediately there's like a card reader that's shown to her where they're like, okay, great. Like now that you've like gone through this journey, like, and she like happily pulls out her credit card and then also says to put it in Australian dollars. Pro tip, if you ever go international and someone asks you to put it in local currency or your own currency, always say the local currency, because the conversion rate will work out better in your favor. So I was like, when you said that, I was like, no.
Yeah, like not only are you being swindled right now, you're being extra swindled by the bank.
That's so true. But I think that really did play into that theme of like, oh, everyone is preying on the sick and vulnerable in this world.
Yes.
Like everyone.
So true.
Yeah, so like it's like yes, it is Belle, and Belle's doing it in a very direct way, but you see this kind of behavior everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like just because it's alternative medicine doesn't mean it's like free, you
Yeah,
know?
and doesn't mean it's run by good people or
Yeah.
like, yeah, it doesn't mean that doctors are evil and like these other alternative treatment people are like good people. Yeah.
Yeah, our saints. Yep. Question for you.
Okay.
Do you think Dr. Phil actually exists?
That was so weird. Oh my gosh, wait, can we just talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay, she takes her son to this trailer question mark. It's like this random ass trailer where this random ass man has an office, takes the son into a room privately, comes out and is like, it's just a bug. He'll be fine. I'm like, who are you? I can't believe. I wish that Chanel, just as the viewer's point of view, was like, how did you meet this guy? Who is he? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I wanted to know how this started.
I wanted her to ask way more questions than she did.
Yeah. That was so crazy. And then yeah, like her own treatment. Okay, when I saw him giving her that treatment, I was like, is she perhaps not a fraud? Like she okay, later it was like, okay, she is a fraud. But when
Yeah.
I watched that, I was like, maybe she's not a fraud and she's just been fooled herself. Like maybe she does think she had brain cancer.
Yeah, so like I watched that scene, I had that same thought, but then I watched the 60 Minutes interview and I was like, no, she's lying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that I thought it was interesting that they included that just to like, was it just to plant a seed of doubt in our minds about like whether she was just a fool herself for believing him or what? Like that was so crazy.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I did like the way that they did it though, because they made it like so ludicrous that it was like, is this a fever dream? Like, I don't
Yeah.
even know. Like, this person could exist, or this person is like severely off his rocker. Like, could be either. Yeah, it was so weird. But the real story, or at least like in the 60 Minutes interview,
Mm.
Belle is like, oh yeah, I went to this doctor. His name was like Mark Jacobs or something. Or Mark Johnson.
Oh, okay.
Mark Johnson. Yeah, maybe not Mark Jacobs. That would
Mark
be too
Jacobs.
obvious.
I thought that was maybe it was Mark Jacobs because like obviously the name Dr. Phil is also a household name. And
Yeah.
maybe they like did the same thing, but okay, no, but it's Mark Johnson.
Maybe.
Okay.
I think it was Mark Johnson. But she tells people that Mark Johnson like diagnoses her with brain cancer like twice or something. And then she told the 60 Minutes interview people this, and they looked him up and they're like, okay, this person does not exist or has like zero digital footprint. And then there was another doctor that she went to that said that she had like a third and the fourth cancer. And then that person did exist, but when they contacted him, he was like, "Oh, I have no credentials to like tell someone if they have cancer or not. So there's no way that I did." Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
interesting. Oh, the other really interesting thing, you know that scene where like she's in the shower and she's crafting this like heartfelt message of like, oh, with anger and
Yeah.
frustration,
Like
I
about
have
to
to
come
like
clean.
announce. Yeah, yeah, she was about to come clean and then she like deletes it and she's like,
Oh, and
I have
doubles
to
down.
announce, yeah, I have a third and fourth cancer and it's in my spleen and whatever. That is like word for word what she posted on the Whole Pantry Facebook
Oh my
page.
god, that's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah, so they word for word posted that, and they also had that in the 60 Minutes interview where they were like, these are the receipts. Like, who diagnosed you with this? And then she was like, this other doctor. And then the 60-minute interviewer, I think her name is Tara, she was like, okay, well then at this point, did you decide to go see a real doctor if you knew that like this person was not a real doctor and was like diagnosing you with like no shoes on, right? And then she was like, no, I didn't think that would be like productive of me to like go to a hospital and get the claims confirmed. And then Tara was like, oh, so you wanted to believe it. And then that's when I was like, yeah, she lying. There's like no logical way that you could like do
No.
this.
Crazy. Oh my god, the audacity.
I did like how they did put an actual Dr. Phil, but they made it so like hard for you to believe that this
Mm-hmm.
person actually existed and
Mm-hmm.
had like this strange machine.
So weird.
So weird.
Oh yeah, also during that scene, I was like, oh no, like I hope he doesn't abuse her. I don't know. Because he like
Oh
had her take off
yeah.
her clothes and like he put all these things on her like chest and stuff with
Yeah.
sensors, and I was like, oh no. But I don't know. There wasn't any evidence of that in the show. It just seems like he's also a fraud.
Yeah, I wondered about that too. Yeah, it was unclear, like especially when like the son went into the doctor's office alone. I was like,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
gonna check on him. Yeah, but like maybe they did that by design to be
Yeah.
like maybe she was abused, like maybe she felt like she had to go to this guy and that he was the only one who could save her or something. So
Yeah.
who knows? Um, oh,
Crazy.
so actually, speaking of the 60 Minutes interview, another fun fact is that in the real 60 Minutes interview, she wore like a pink turtleneck sweater, and then she wore a very similar sweater in this show. So I was like,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw clips of the documentary and I was like, oh my gosh, they got it so right. Can we talk about Clive?
you mean BJ Novak?
You mean BJ Nolak? Listeners, when I went to Google the Wikipedia synopsis of this show, there was like I guess an AI summary of the critical reception of this show, and it was like, oh, actors Caitlin Dever and BJ Nolak have received so much praise for this show. BJ Nolak, not to be confused with BJ Novak. In reality, there is no BJ Nolak.
I literally looked up BJ Novak. I was like, what if he is BJ Novak and we're just being ignorant?
At least I looked up like the first 8 cast members or so, and none of them are named BJ Nolak.
Yeah. Oh yeah, his name is actually like Ashley
Zuckerman. Yeah.
Zuckerman. Yes,
But
but
he does look very similar to BJ Novak.
very similar. So I understand it, AI. I understand ChatGPT making this mistake, honest mistake.
So funny. No, Ashley Zuckerman. Well, I knew him from Succession, in which he plays Nate Sifrelli, who Siobhan has an affair with in season 1.
Spoilers.
Oh, I didn't realize. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. If it's not for this podcast, I don't watch it.
Okay, I guess we're never doing Succession for this podcast.
we could.
But yeah, Clive. Okay, so yes, played by Ashley Zuckerman. Just such an interesting character. Like the way she pulls him in and he can't let go of her was so crazy to me. And like she uses her son against him, but she also relies on him for like everything. It was just so crazy to me. I don't know. I'm sure that actually happened in real life because I saw some pictures of the real Clyde Rockwell in his like bike helmet riding his bike, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's real.
Is he really an awkward software engineer in real
Yeah,
life?
I think so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So their relationship was fascinating to me.
Yeah. I did like the way that they kind of portrayed it in this show where they were like, wait, but like what's in it for Clive? And then you kind of start thinking like, what is in it for Clive? Like she's mooching off of him financially. His parents don't like her at all and like she's like actively getting in the way from him spending time with his ill parents. And then I really liked how they like cut to a shot where he is just hanging out with Belle's son and stuff. And I was like, oh my god, he just wants a son.
I know.
Well, he loves them. And then he said that he loved her too, and like that's why. So
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure in the beginning he fell in love with her because she's like clearly so passionate about the product she wants, or like the website she wants to build, and
yeah.
she like built this whole thing by herself. And so I think he maybe like manic pixie dream girled her a little bit and was like, oh my gosh, she can
Mm,
do everything, like she's so perfect. um
yeah.
and then, but then, yeah, the crazy thing to me was that he just, anytime he had an opportunity to have a backbone, he never stood up for himself.
Yeah.
And like she continued to just mooch off of him financially, put all of the there was something where she put something all under his name or something so that she wasn't liable, or she used his credit card for a bunch of stuff,
Yeah,
so that
I
she
think
wasn't liable.
she like put the business in his name or something, or like
Mm,
maybe the charity stuff in his name. I wasn't sure. But yeah,
okay.
definitely like the any like financial debt obligation was under his name.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that happened, and then like he's clearly the only one taking care of her son for the most part. Um, yeah, so just crazy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm
I
sad.
felt really bad for her son, especially that scene where she's just like, I just need him to go to bed. I'm just gonna lock him in his room
Oh
all
my
night. I was
god. Oh my
like,
god. That was
yeah,
so heartbreaking. Oh my gosh.
yeah.
It's the projection of myself that I felt whenever I left Maui in her crate for too long. Or like if I felt like it was too long, I was like, oh my god, I'm a neglectful mother. Like that, I had the same feeling watching that of like, oh my goodness, like she's just like locking him away and like compartmentalizing him in real life so that she can compartmentalize that being a mother in in her mind.
Yeah.
Oof.
Oh, well, actually, speaking of the son, one thing that I didn't quite understand, I don't know if you got this, was it they showed him like breaking his arm in his sleep or something. What was that about? Or like
Uh,
was it actually broken or was he just like lying about it? I wasn't sure.
wait, when was that? I don't remember.
I think it was like when she came back from California with like ringworm. I don't know if you remember this. It was like, so not the first time, but like she came back with ringworm, and she was like, "Oh, like what's this?" And then he was like, "Oh, I broke it." And then I think in like a previous scene, they had shown him like waking up in the morning and his arms were like this or something. And then yeah, so but I don't know if it was actually broken. I didn't know if that was like a, oh, now he's picking up this
Mm,
habit about like lying about his physical ailments so that he can get attention, and he's like picked up
yeah.
this habit from Belle, or if it actually was like, no, he like hurt himself.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
if true, like if it did happen like that in the show, I like the idea that they were saying that he's learning habits from his mom.
I think maybe that was it because it didn't like the dressing like on his arm didn't look like it was professionally done. So I feel like his dad was like, oh, maybe this was it. His dad was just like letting him pretend to be hurt, and like that's also what he was doing with Belle. Oh, actually, one thing that was not in the show, Belle actually has a brother. Um
Oh,
yeah, Belle has a brother in real
is he named
life.
Mel?
Yeah. She's pretty big in the film industry. No, but she had a brother that she claimed had autism in real life, and she would like publicly talk about the fact that her mom has MS and her dad and her brother has autism. And her brother does not have autism in real life, but her mom
What?
does have MS. So yeah, so I think it's just like I think it just plays into
That's
this
so
idea of
messed
like,
up.
yeah, like so much of her life is like half truths, so much so that when something is like obviously false, you don't know what to believe. And then I think in the documentary, her brother is like, I don't know why she's saying that I'm autistic.
Yeah, that's crazy. This poor brother's like catching strays.
Oh my
So
God.
random.
Yeah.
Speaking of the brother, I don't know why this reminded me of it, but that little boy that she in the show she was raising money for, that was also such a heartbreaking storyline.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
that was that real? Do you know if that
That was
happened? Okay.
also real.
Oh
Yeah,
my
so
gosh.
she I don't know how they met or what, but like she did meet a 7-year-old who had glioblastoma,
Mm.
and she did like post him all over her Instagram. I think she also wanted to raise money for his surgery. I think either the parents of that little boy were saying that like yeah, it's more likely that she was hanging out with him just to like cop his syndromes or his symptoms basically.
Oh my god.
So one thing that also did happen in real life, which is crazy, is that she I think she did see the 7-year-old boy have a seizure, like maybe like saw his symptoms, and she did fake a seizure at her son's birthday party. That actually happened.
Dude. That's so crazy.
Yeah.
This woman is so, so calculated and manipulative.
I know,
Oh my
crazy.
goodness.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it like took on a personal turn for you a little bit. I guess like listeners for context, like both Shalini and I, our moms had cancer, like semi recently.
Mm,
And so I think also like coming from Indian background and Indian culture, you want to like try to approach things really naturally. You like do lean into this idea of how can we do things like homeopathically, how can we use Ayurvedic medicine, and like this actually was a pretty tense conversation between my sister and I and our parents, where we were like, don't just believe, like don't just do this Ayurvedic medicine, you like don't really know what's in it, you're buying it from some random person in India, and you can say like, oh, I'm going to take this in addition to doing like chemo and
yeah,
radiotherapy or whatever, but like you don't know how these things are interacting with each other, like you're not in control of that. And so it's not that doing more things will help you, well, can only help you. It is quite possible that doing more things can hurt you. So I think that's also why I felt like a lot of rage towards this person who is like peddling lies essentially. And I also really felt for Lucy in that moment too.
for sure. I mean, I wasn't like, I wouldn't say actively thinking about my mom when I was watching this, but it definitely reminded me, like, I could so easily put myself into the journalist's shoes of like trying to just like be the most supportive family member I could to my family member who had cancer. And yeah, I mean, like, it is enraging because modern medicine is the only reason like my mom's still with us right now, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's so crazy that anyone would take advantage of people like that and like literally harm millions of people. It's just crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, modern medicine.
Thank you, modern medicine.
I agree. I wasn't like actively thinking about it. I think at the end of the day, it was a show for me. But also the fact that it did have so many overlaps, like even the things that you thought were like crazy, like, oh, this is crazy, like has to be
Yeah.
fictionalized.
Yeah.
Like even that stuff was real. So
Yeah, her attending Milla's funeral. I still cannot believe that was real.
yeah,
Or her attending Jessica's funeral.
yeah,
Yeah.
attending Jessica's funeral, having a seizure in front of her son.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, bad.
Dang. So I wonder, do you know where Belle Gibson is today?
Yeah, so in the documentary, they did show that this is also gonna sound crazy. She popped up randomly and she was filmed like talking to these Ethiopian reporters, like speaking on behalf of this marginalized group in Ethiopia. And she was like, yeah, like I'm a part of this marginalized group.
Oh
And
my god.
then that video like went viral, and then everyone was like, this bitch is an Ethiopian. Like all of the Ethiopian officials are like, oh shit, she's like a fraud. And so then like I think like one of the spokes members of that marginalized group was like, we don't know who this person is. Like, she came out of nowhere, and like now we know she's a fraud, and so she was not part of our group. She was never part of our group. I don't know like how she got here, but we are not like we are not responsible for this person.
Oh
Basically saying
my
like she doesn't
god.
belong here.
Dude, for someone who's
Yeah.
like obviously quite intelligent, like you need to be a certain level of intelligent to pull all this shit off. Like for someone who's that intelligent, she's so dumb. Why would you go back into the public eye and try to be a spokesperson for anything?
Well, I think I don't think she expected it to go viral. I think it was like local news. Like, that's what it was.
Okay, so she
Yeah.
was trying to lay low.
I think in general, like, I agree. I think in many ways, she is one of the first official influencers. The fact that she was really self taught, she picked herself up from the bootstraps and created an app. All of those recipes were hers. Like, she did create a cookbook because she obviously has skills. It's just the fact that she had to coast on having this really harmful lie be the foundation of her story. It's like, yeah, you can't be successful like this. But yeah, it is heartbreaking in that sense, because it's like, you know, if she had like gone down the straight and narrow and just been like, I just want to live healthy and like this is my story. Like, this is my cookbook.
Yeah, like she clearly has the skills like to make it. Like she built the initial website by herself. She had great recipes. Like those are obviously legit. Like the recipes themselves are fine.
Yeah. And she was a hustler at the end of the day.
And she was a hustler for sure. For sure. So it's always such a shame when you see that happen. It kind of reminds me of Adam Newman in the WeWork story a little bit.
Oh yeah?
He was a similar character. So I did a case on WeWork in business school. And basically, like, the way they painted the picture of Adam Newman, the founder, is very similar. I mean, he wasn't a fraud, but he was also, like, extremely charismatic, had like, such a big vision for the company, was super narcissistic, and just, like, wanted to grow, and, like, didn't put a ton of thought into the strategy for growth. This was for my strategy class, so it was kind of like a, don't do this when you're growing your company thing. But basically, like, he did some crazy whacked out shit to like keep his company afloat, like out of desperation after he thought he was losing it, kind of similar to how Belle like doubled down and claimed that she had like a third and fourth type of cancer. I think Adam Newman like secretly sold his company. Okay, I'll need to look up the details, and maybe in the next episode I'll do a corrections segment if any of this is wrong. But it was something like he like tricked some Chinese company into buying what he knew was like a dying business, but then like sold it for way more than it was worth. Because he and his wife had like grown. It wasn't just we work, it was like we live and we kids for daycare or school or something, or like we learn, and there were all of these different we systems for people to we systems with like with like absolutely no strategy. So like he had the vision, and like people were so easily bought into his story of the vision, but like he had nothing to back it up. So anyway, it reminded me of that. It also Belle Gibson kind of reminded me of like early Elon Musk, obviously not current Elon Musk, but Elon Musk's early SpaceX Tesla days, where like he clearly is such a visionary, you know. I mean, he's insane, but he had such a strong vision, and I think he used his narcissism and charisma to get people hooked into his vision and like grow really quickly. And so I think it's interesting that there are so many, there's an archetype for this type of person who can grow a business. Yeah, Elizabeth Holmes, exactly. Like there's this certain personality type that is so good at this, and it's all because they just believe in themselves. They're delusionally into themselves.
Yeah. No, that's so true. That's so accurate. Yeah, there are so many people out there that seemingly fail upwards, And you're like,
Yeah.
how is it possible for you to
Yeah.
like have all of these people's trust in you, like unfounded trust in you? It's crazy. Yeah. I think like one moral of this story is people are a lot more critical now.
Mhm.
At least it feels like they are more critical. The media is being held accountable ish
Yeah.
for like putting people on pedestals. Like there should be at least like a way more rigorous like vetting standard when you think about like who you should publish or like who you should put on your Apple Watch. So I do think that's like a silver lining that's hopefully come out of this. But, you know.
I hope so. I mean, it definitely feels like these days with TikTok and other social media, someone out there is always doing their research on someone. I mean, maybe that's a bad attitude to have, that like, oh, someone's always doing research. Maybe that's how we got here in the first place.
Mike Wazowski.
But I agree. I hope that the lesson the world has taken is that we need to do our homework on the people that we're following and the people that we're putting our trust into.
Yeah, agreed. Well, I think overall it was a good watch.
Yeah. Can we rate the episode?
Well, yeah, let's rate it.
I think I would give it like a solid 8.5.
Okay.
Yeah. I love this show. I love the acting.
With the tomato meter.
Yeah. Love the acting, love the plot and how everything unfolded, and it like pulled at the heartstrings. There were some funny moments. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. I think I would give it a 6.5 or 7. I think 7 because I did like the cinematography in the end. Like I thought it was pretty good. I like the creative choices. I think I subtracted a few points just because I was a little confused at the beginning. But also I did really appreciate how the story made me do a big deep dive afterwards. But like, so did the documentary. So yeah, it was good. Well, I guess we'll see you next time, and just remember,
always watching.
Okay, that's a good place to go. Thanks for yapping with us. If you loved this episode, have some hot takes we missed, or if you've got a show you're dying for us to binge next, find us on socials. We're at Binge Yap Repeat.
Until next time, happy binging!